transformation that I've been working through in 2019 and sort of starting to come to the end within NMCN Highways Division. I'm going to touch on something that I learned very early in my career. I talked about the 1990, 91, 92 era of my career, where I was asked to be a project manager for a product transfer from another company. One of the things that I learned quite quickly though is the need for effective communication, to engage with teams and actually enthuse teams to support the activity you're trying to deliver. So we're going to touch on that in this journey. I'm working on a current transformational journey. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and give you a case study of some of the activity that we've done towards the end of last year and through the beginning of this year. And then I'm going to provide a little video, which hopefully will work, of a team's feedback with regard to the activity that they did. It wasn't something that I asked for. It's not feedback about what I did. It's a feedback about the benefits they felt of the process. And then hopefully time for Q&A. So we're going to talk about briefly one of my favourite films growing up, which was Back to the Future. Came out in 1985, so I've given my age away a couple of times now. I'm 50 at the end of July. But we're all going to jump in our DeLorean and we're all going to make sure the flux capacitor is completely filled up, and we're going to go back in time a little bit. Now, many of you working in this industry for a long time would have heard of the Latham Report back in 1994. And it taught very much about the fact that we needed to actually collaborate and be more collaborative working with regards to our industry to help enhance performance. So back in 1994, we were ringing the same bell that we're often ringing today, the fact that it's important to think about our team. So for me, when I do lean and I work with companies and we deliver these types of approaches, thought pattern through my mind is optimizing the utilization and the outputs of the available resources. And I always remind myself and try and remind people that often people are our biggest resource. So when we're in with people, we need to think about our emotional intelligence and how we engage with those people effectively. If you can enthuse people and make them feel like they can provide positive contribution and manage that positive contribution well enough, you'll get maximum benefit from the process. The Egan Report in 1998, I'm sorry to go over some of this with some people that might know this inside out, but I think it's really important that we talk about that. Rethinking Construction back in 1998 asked us to look at other industries for inspiration and how we could improve our performance using things like lean. Now, I think that's where my background came into the case, where BRE were interested in supporting construction people with this industry approach. But back in 2008, we had an update on the Egan Report, and he actually scored us 4 out of 10 for our performance in actually continuous improvement of the industry's performance. So for me, there was things that we should have learned, we should have picked up on. Why did we score 4 out of 10? How do we enhance our performance and keep moving forward? But as every industry does, lots of papers are introduced, lots of government strategies are introduced that try and keep us forward. A key one that I've talked about in the industry since I've been involved was the government construction strategy back in 2011. And obviously, again, it pushed the fact that we need to work together collaboratively, we need to look for greater efficiency, and we need to look to improve. But because of the way the industry often confuses cost versus value, it shows the greatest barriers to improvement is often that industry approach. So other documents that I've worked with, talked about in the past with various different clients is Construction 2025, released in July 2013, told us as an industry that we really need to be looking at lowering costs, 50% faster delivery, 50% lower emissions, improvements in exports, etc., etc. So with me, that makes me think about the lean thinking that Steve mentioned about in his previous presentation. It's about making sure that we're doing lean production, we're providing lean services, because all of those things have to come together to allow us to achieve those types of targets. Often when I presented this Construction 2025 document back in 2013 or as part of the journey around about that time, I got a lot of challenge with regards to those targets being set. Now they are stretch targets, but they must have been based on the fact of when we do the right things as an industry, often we can achieve amazing things. So for me, it was about how do we get there? Government Construction Strategy 2011 moved into 2016, 5-year Parliament, and 2016 sort of reinforced the same messages that we were talking about back in 2011. And then we've seen other documentations. We could pull a raft and reams of documentation with regards to our performance in the industry. One of the recent ones was obviously the Latham Report, Modernise or Die. Often the themes within Modernise or Die seem to me themes that we were talking about in 94, 98, 2011, 2016. So they're repeating the message again and again and again about the importance of efficiency and collaboration across our industry. So surely now it's time to improve, guys. We've talked about it long enough. You know, you've probably picked up on some of the comments in the chat box that I've put in previous sessions to make sure that people are understanding that we've got to get on and do this and move forward as quickly as we can in industry. So there we go. It's time to improve now. So I know, I think it was Dan showed a similar timeline with regards to our productivity in industry in comparison to others. And I'm just using this again to highlight the differences between performance of construction industry with regards to manufacturing and services and production. And again, I'll get lots of challenge from different people of we're different industries, we have different mentality, we do different processes, we don't make 1,000 widgets in a factory is one of my favorites. We build one-offs. Yeah, but often we do build one-offs, but we actually utilize the same processes over and over again just to deliver a different output. And that's something that we need to consider as a team. We're really stretched as an industry to make profit. Part of the thought pattern in our industry often used to be profit causes us problems with clients. We shouldn't be seen to be making a profit. Clients don't like us making a profit as an industry. Well, I'm afraid that's what you go into business for. If any of us sat in front of Dragon's Den and presented the profit margin levels that we're talking about on this particular slide to Dragon's Den, I'm pretty sure Peter Jones or any of the others wouldn't make any investments moving forward. And as you can see, there's a tough challenge for us coming ahead with regards to profit, performance, and also the current new normal that we're all trying to quite work out what that looks like. So my question to us as an industry often is, are we insane? Surely doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is going to drive us down that route of being insane. So we've got to push ourselves to do something different. Sometimes it's not something different, it's just more of the good things that we've done in the delivery of our projects and our previous performance. Also, we've got this changing landscape of the industry. You know, we talk about lean, we talk about the culture, we talk about behaviors, we talk about new technology, BIM, Zoom, all the different things that we're currently using, for example. We talk about we need to be more collaborative. BS 11000 and ISO 44001 talks about collaboration. Again, we've written it into lots of documentation, but we've got to get to grips with this. We talk about off-site manufacture, and as Steve mentioned in his previous presentation, off-site, I get told so many times, that's how we're lean. No, off-site is only lean if you do the right things throughout the whole process. The amount of times I've been involved in a project where we've had difficulties having bathroom pods manufactured, delivered to site in the wrong sequence with regards to program, causing us problems on the floor plate. And we have to do things like collaborative planning to make sure that we deliver the right outcomes process moving forward. Modular construction, skills gap with the guy with the briefcase jumping the gap there. We all know the age demographic of our industry. We are going to lose a lot of knowledge and experience from our industry. So we need to be able to attract the right the right people to our industry to move forward. And often, you know, I've got two boys who are both teenagers and a younger one who's 12, 13. If I spoke to those guys about going into construction, I don't think it'd be the first choice because of the negative feelings with regards to our industry that schools often promote. So that tells me, very famous slide, we need to be adaptable to change. Change is coming, whether we like it or not. Change can be seen, forecasted, other changes such as COVID-19 implications. So we have to be able to adapt. And as the Darwin quote says there, it's not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one that's most adaptable to change. We have to be able to adapt to change. So we have lean, efficient processes. If we have people on board, then we will adapt and move forward. So I want to talk about lean transformation with regards to an organisation that I help and supported. NMCN is an organisation. They have a build, they work in water, they work in highways, etc. And I was asked to support highways because their division of highways, sorry, because they were bidding to be part of Highways England framework, DIP framework from 2020 onwards. And one of my former clients recommended that if they were going to go on this journey, they needed possibly to engage with somebody like myself to support that journey moving forward. So back in Q4 2018, I met with the team. There was a real drive of, we have to do it because Highways England will ask us to do it. We'll be assessed against the HELMA requirements. But obviously that wasn't home with certain parts of the business. So one of the things that I was asked to do back around about October 2018 was sit and present to the main board with regards to what we should be doing with regards to NMCN, its internal drivers. I also gave them some discussion and presentation with regards to the reason why we're doing this as an industry, but really wanted to grasp them with their internal drivers. So the first thing that came up was Brexit. You know, the uncertainty of Brexit at that time was going to create within our industry meant that we needed to be efficient in the way we delivered our works that we already had on the books, because that was the real certainty the business had. We've got work, we need to do it efficiently. It might be more difficult to win work in the future due to the Brexit implications. Where did they want to be within the business, within the market? So obviously, you know, they're coming up against bigger players, Balfour Beatties, Graham Construction, etc. And they wanted to be able to sit within that field and work with those guys alongside in the framework of Highways England and demonstrate they were capable to do that. They recognised in some parts of the business that we need to improve. Performance isn't great. You know, variation to programme durations, we lose money because we're missing things and not putting that into the process. So they recognised there was an opportunity to improve within the business. And obviously, as any business needs to, they wanted to generate more profit. They wanted to be able to drive the business forward, invest. NMCN had done a great job in the previous 5 to 10 years in actually growing the business quite quickly. So obviously it needed to sustain that movement forward. So what did we do? I offered this as part of the proposal of what we were trying to achieve through our lean transformation. First thing was enhanced understanding for the employees and the organisation's strategic objectives. When I work with my client base, want to make sure that lean thinking is embedded into the organisation's strategic objectives, because it'll help us deliver good quality. It'll help us deliver safe projects. It'll help us deliver profit. It'll help us improve our performance and develop our techniques. We wanted to demonstrate how industry recognised lean construction techniques would support the delivery. A lot of challenge from that. Why do we need to change? Why can't we just do what we've always done? We're doing okay. But obviously we want to demonstrate how we could move forward. We wanted to improve performance in key areas, such as quality, cost and delivery I've mentioned. We also wanted to create this collaborative working environment. One of the things that I find with some organisations I walk into is very much embedded in ingrained silo mentality. Well, we're the commercial department, we do this. Well, we're the planning department, we do that. We're the bidding department, we do this. We're the delivery team, we do this. And for me, it's whole life cycle that we need to think about moving forward. So we wanted to create that collaborative working environment. We wanted to produce an environment where people would want to actually work as a multifunctional team to enhance the culture and behaviour and work together more effectively. Enhance the level of lean capability and capacity and maturity across the organisation. I made sure that they understood that I was there to support their journey, to help them get to grips with some of the techniques that we would talk about and some of the behaviours required, but it was very much about them moving forward as per the requirements of any lean maturity assessment I've ever been involved with in all of my career within automotive, aerospace, construction. Develop continuous improvement culture and ethos across all levels of the business. Well, I was brought up on the shop floor, and when I originally worked on the shop floor, one of the manufacturing engineers and production engineer teams that I work with always used to say to me is, you need to see the people who do the work to understand how you can improve. So as Katie's presentation previously talked about the Gemba, it was also always about actually physically working with teams to help drive this forward. And develop an effective knowledge transfer process to capture, analyse and disseminate the best practice. I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss anything and we didn't lose anything, so we could drive it forward moving across the business. So I supported the business for around about 50 days. We went through inception phase, scope definition phase to make sure we were on the right plan, implementation of that plan, a maintenance phase of the plan, so in other words, supporting through coaching and mentoring, and then a training and development phase, and also set up a review process with the senior leadership team to make sure we were on track, we were doing the right things, any feedback, whether it be good, positive, or not so positive, was captured, and we kept driving forward as a business. So that 50 days was during the course of 2019. So we wanted to push the business through the awareness, experience gaining, enabling stage, empowering the team to deliver lean and continuous improvement and collaborative working, to strive towards lean maturity. And we did it to mirror Helmer's objectives, because obviously it was a key part of the business strategy moving forward of being part of Highways England framework. But we also wanted to make sure that we were aware as a business, as NMCN, that we were also doing it for ourselves, not just to meet client expectations. So in part of the early stage of the process, we talked about the 5 successful steps for implementation. For me, I've always worked with this slide since I joined BRE. It's very much about, do we have the right vision? If we've got the right vision and we have the right skills and we have the right incentive, the resources and a robust action plan, we can drive change. We can move forward. But if we're missing the vision, we all get a little bit confused. What direction are we taking? Why are we doing it? Where are we going? Then obviously it doesn't happen. If we don't have the right skills, it can create anxiety. So when I work with teams, I want to build the skills around me to ensure that they can actively deliver the expectations required. If there's no incentive, then it's very gradual change. You know, I get sick sometimes of construction teams telling me, we'll do it when the client asks us to do it. Well, if you're incentivized for your own needs, then it's even better than a client asking you to do it. Resource it effectively. Often, you know, early stages, trying to introduce things like 5C workplace or 5S workplace organization. You know, it's not the most important things to teams. Well, if you don't resource it properly, guys, we're not going to do it. And if the action plan isn't robust and being driven hard enough, then we get false start. So I think it's a fantastic slide. I've had so many senior leadership teams ask me, can I borrow that slide, Andy, and put into one of my presentations for my teams? I think it's a great slide to share with a lot of team members if you're trying to drive processes forward. So the activities that we did at NMCN, we started to develop a 5-tiered lean training program. When I grew up in aerospace automotive industry, it was very much about the more the business understands, the more the business can deliver. But not everybody needs to be an expert, so we tried to develop a 5-tiered lean training program that allowed people to understand what they needed to understand to help them positively contribute, but also provide the opportunity for people to develop if there was an aptitude or a requirement for them to develop, there was an opportunity to do. I was given 3 projects to actually start doing some lean and collaborative planning activities. So Project Muno was a Derby City Council job. There was a highways job with regards to the A46 in Cattle Market, a local council job or Ripplingham highways work, and a Warwick University project. So those 3 or 4 projects were the ones that we tried to demonstrate the impact and benefit we could have on some of these approaches and delivery of the project. And we also picked on the fact that we wanted to do some internal business improvement projects. Often when construction companies start to utilize lean, it's all about the site activity. It's collaborative planning, it's better visual management on site, it's 5S. But we wanted to demonstrate that we were also looking only within the business. So the 3 business improvement projects that we picked were supply chain development, project record keeping and management of those records, and also how to do a better pre-construction activity in the way we actually primed our projects moving forward. The success of that project brought me into doing additional days which was supporting through coaching and mentoring on requests. Other projects opened up, so Derby Council, Sheffield City Council, for example, asked an MCN to work on other projects. We opened up in other regions, so like many businesses in construction, the business had different regions that we hadn't touched and weren't working with, other teams, other clients, and as I say, varying level of support required was delivered to meet the needs. So the journey so far, I've said about the 5-stage lean training program. We did a whole business introduction to lean and the continually improvement journey and how that linked to an MCN strategic objectives. Then what we did from that is we took 20 to 30 people who were key scheme personnel going to be involved in the DIP framework, should they be successful in the bid, and actually help them develop some understanding with regards to lean and the benefits and the power of lean in general. 10 to 15 were trained in site management and collaborative planning training. So in other words, the things that I've mentioned, collaborative planning, visual management, 5S workplace organisation, risk management, etc., were introduced to those guys and how they could use that on a live site. And then we did some lean champion training, which has now generated, I think it's about 6 to 7 at the moment within the business, who are actually pushing forward with different lean techniques, problem solving techniques, continuous improvement activities to drive the business forward. And also, very important, we made sure that we had some lean leadership and training delivered on behalf of the team to make sure that lean was also key to the strategic leaders of the business. So we started off with 1 or 2 people really interested in driving through the lean temple or the lean house. So changing behavior, developing organizational visual management, standardizing work where we could, developing leadership. But we tried to push more and more people to be part of that journey, which we did successfully. So the journey so far, coming to a conclusion with regards to NMCM, we're pretty much sitting at step 3, we feel, as a business, pushing towards step 4. Many of us have seen the UK government presentation with regards to status of where we are with regards to COVID-19, and it's a bit confusing, but I believe that we're sort of sat in the middle of step 4. We're doing measuring and improvement at the moment, but we're also trying to make sure that that's fed back as a closed loop system to help us move forward. So some of the feedback that we got from the process, you can see there's a personal thanks to myself, but it's not about that for me. It's about the bullet points which are highlighted in the text there. Embedment of lean practice across some sites, which is clearly having positive impact on performance. The client satisfaction, Derby City Council and Sheffield City Council, and making sure that we are set apart from our competition. And from a standing start, never being involved with Highways England Lean Maturity Assessment, we actually scored a 1.6 out of 4 with regards to our first scoring, which I believe is a fantastic result, because some of the offline conversation I'd had with others was if you get an average of 1 in your first year, that's a massive benefit, massive performance. So for us to achieve 1.6, I'm personally proud of it, and I know the business is, but we recognise there's a long way to go. That was back in December 2019, so the close of the sort of engagement that I had, and I spoke to Alex Spencer, the pre-construction director, again this year, around about May time, and the fact obviously that we're in interesting times, I'm sure we'll all agree. But the good news is that all of our highway site continues to progress and efficiencies have been implemented and are taking root. So really happy with what we were doing within the business there, and really happy the direction taken. But I think it all comes back to one of the key things that I learned back in 1991, 1992, was the 7 C's of effective communication. It comes from a book called Effective Public Relations, produced by Scott M. Cutlip and Alan H. Center back in 1952. So again, been around a long time. But it talks about the things that we need to think about when we're trying to communicate with people and take people through a process of understanding and how we can contribute to the delivery of what we're trying to achieve. So this was reviewed back in 1990 by the Washington Post. And in 1990, and this is why I picked up on it in 91, 92, is the Washington Post actually said, if there is such a thing as the 10 commandments of business, then the second was laid down by Cutlip and Center in effective relations. And it talks about this model. So when I was asked to communicate with teams without the authority of a senior management role, this is where I went to try and understand how am I best to communicate with others. So we talk about correctness. Often we need to make sure that the information we're providing is correct. So we want clear messages. We want lean to be tied into strategic approaches. We want people to understand that it's important for us to do. So there's key points there that we need to make sure information is correct that we go to our audience with. If you go out with correct information, often people will buy into and understand what you're trying to achieve. We need to make sure the information is complete. The amount of times, for example, we go to site with 60 to 70% of the information available when we're trying to build a job, and we often wonder why we've got so much risk and we have to deliver projects on time. So if there's a missing piece of the jigsaw, it's difficult for people to actually get on board and understand what you're trying to communicate. So often we're trying to drive completeness of information. Concise, we need to be on target. Often, you can do a presentation, lots of different communication processes go on, and it's not concise enough. I've been in situations where people are trying to convince a site guy laying bricks, for example, that he really needs to be involved in lean, and we do an hour PowerPoint presentation to him. Often a 5-minute flip chart is what that guy needs to understand how you can actually deliver what you need to deliver better, more efficiently, more effectively through lean. It needs to be considerate. We need to consider the audience. We need to consider how they will actually understand the information that we're providing. We need to understand what their viewpoint and background and mindset is, and also not being disrespectful to people. Sometimes the education level, sometimes I've seen lean being delivered too academically, too high profile for some people to actually engage with it. So yes, there's a place for the academic research and the background that we've done, but often we need to make lean real for people. And it brings me back to the title for this presentation: let them have it, let them understand it. Clarity of information is often important, making sure we're specific on the goal, the objective at a time, rather than trying to move away from track. Make sure people can understand the message easily. So often, visual management, a great believer in visual management, fantastic tool. Then that's what we need to do to make sure there's clarity in the information we provide. And also concreteness. So obviously we talk about concrete quite a lot in our business, but obviously this is regarding to the strength of the information. I've seen it before where people talk about collaborative planning, for example, because they've done a little bit before. I've done some collaborative planning, but it's a little bit fuzzy in general in their explanation to another member of the team, and then they wonder why we haven't got people on board and supporting this process. Sometimes I'm brought in by team members to actually help get the message across to the team, maybe in a different way. And care to our audience. Be polite, be kind, be enthusiastic, but also be convincing. Give respect. If you give respect, then you can expect the same back. And it's key that we remember those 7 C's of communication when we're trying to deliver lean. So this is why one of the questions, for example, I put in the chat box with regards to facilitation skills. Sometimes we don't spend enough time thinking about what we're trying to communicate, how we need to communicate, and how we can move it forward. So I said I'd talk about something that I'm working with at the moment. I'm currently working with Wilmot Dixon as part of their Building on Better on an approach which they call collaboration is our norm. So in other words, Building on Better, collaboration is our norm, is using some lean techniques and collaboration techniques tied into their Building on Better strategy, which if you have any engagement with Wilmot Dixon or you read any of their press or you look at them as a business, Building on Better is a massive part of their business moving forward. We looked at their strategy and it talks about our customers, our people, our products, our legacy, our growth. And it talked about how we can actually enhance and improve performance, and that is in regards to those areas. So I was asked to get involved with the business and help drive some of those working principles across the projects in what we call the Northern LCOs, local construction offices. So Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, and Newcastle offices and their projects and client base within those regions. So we've been doing things covertly and overtly. A lot of the communication that I got from Wilmot Dixon was we need to do some more collaborative planning, we need to do some continuous improvement, we need to do some real activity to help our business do problem solving, risk management. So even though the main focus may be collaborative planning on site, we're also doing other techniques where applicable to help support moving forward. This is a case study for Wilmot Dixon's Trinity Chapeltown project. You can see the details there with regards to the project. Very interesting project. Chapeltown is a part of Leeds. The education, we're building a new school close to existing school. The existing school was very much in a temporary accommodation for a lot of the students, etc. So it's been a real drive from the end user to have a quality building for them to move into. So just giving you some details with regards to the benefits of the project. We had a target of 67 weeks for the main building handover, and we actually delivered it within 60 weeks. So a 7-week improvement on bottom line for the program. Obviously, problem was that that should have been delivered in summer this year. We'd actually targeted then to deliver it at the Easter break, but COVID came in. So part of the process was to say that the building was ready and available 7 weeks to go, but we negotiated with the client to make sure we handed over the building appropriately to the current conditions, and also made sure that we met the COVID requirements in delivery of that project. So even though it was available 7 weeks, we handed it over 4 weeks early. Lots of different people were involved, key supply chain partners, Civils, O'Donnell's, Marlborough Brickwork, NGB's, Billington Steel, Breba. So very much supply chain came to the party and were involved in our process moving forward. You can see the usual things there, lots of collaborative planning going on, lots of sessions working with the team. You'll notice, as Steve said in his presentation, I don't appear in any of that. That's not because I'm probably holding the camera in some of them. That's because the team are confidently utilising some of these principles for themselves, and I'm there supporting in the background as required. So success, as I say, complete 7 weeks early, available to the client and end users full term earlier than originally programmed. There was excellent collaboration and lean principles demonstrated across the project and the supply chain partners and with all stakeholders and clients. We worked collaboratively with the client and used to navigate the handover of the project 3 to 4 weeks early, and it was snag free. And not only that, I'm recognised within the business as the highest performing quality awarded project for 2019 and 2020. So awards were won for quality, health and safety. But one of the things that we did do is also share that with the guys. So you'll see on the right hand picture there, the guys are enjoying a hog roast lunch there, because we wanted to demonstrate the benefit that they delivered to us within the project moving forward. So that's one project I'm working on. As I say, I'm working on various different projects at the moment across those different LCOs. Now, just to finish off, I wanted to play a little bit of a video of the second project that I was given to as a pilot project with regards to collaboration as our norm and building on better. This is Denton and Tameside Wellness Centre. The business wanted, not me personally, business Wilmot Dixon and the site team were asked to put a video together with regards to some of the feedback from the supply chain with regards to the activity that they've done through the process. And I think it's sometimes great to hear it from the horse's mouth. As a consultant, obviously, part of my role is to sell services, to sell the process and to sell the benefits of lean. But sometimes it's great to hear it from our audience. So I just wanted to let this play. It's about 4 minutes long, so hopefully that's not too long for you guys.
microphone on because there's a lot of feedback coming. Andy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Video second.
Okay.
Is the volume turned up on the video?
Yeah.
If you turn the volume, then you need to mute your microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you mute your microphone, then go back into it, it should, and then restart the video. It should work for everybody then.
Sorry.
No, there's no, Andy, there's no audio. Have you not got headphones?